So, UFC 303 is taking place this weekend, and the first fight on the main card is Ian Garry versus MVP. And in my opinion, this fight could have been the co-main event, and I actually think this fight can also be fight of the night in terms of entertainment. This is a fight between two skilled strikers, and those kind of matchups are always fun. So let's first talk about Ian Garry, and as much as I don't like this guy, I have to give credit where credit is due. Ian Garry is a very skilled striker. He fights from kicking range where he can utilize his best weapons, aka the kicks. The guy has fast and powerful kicks that he often throws to the body. The guy is also fast on the feet. He pretty much outspeeds most of his opponents, so he's able to stay in that kicking range. He also has nice combinations combined with fast and powerful hands. However, I'd say that Ian Garry's biggest weakness is probably the fact that when he throws combinations, his hands often go back to his chest or his stomach, which of course leaves him open for punches. I think we saw this in the Song Kanan fight, if I'm not mistaken. It also doesn't help that he doesn't keep his chin tucked, which makes him super open for counters when he throws combinations. Another thing that doesn't help Ian Garry is the fact that he has very short reach for his height, and we saw how this affected him in his Cage Warriors days. Whenever he fought an opponent who was similar to his height, his opponents would just kinda stay right outside of Garry's boxing range and throw punches. So he does have some trouble with taller opponents. So let's talk a little bit about MVP. MVP is also a very skilled striker, one of the most entertaining fighters to watch in MMA. He is actually quite similar to Ian Garry in certain ways. For example, he likes to fight on the outside. MVP is also a striker who stands very bladed, and he often fights very far away from his opponents, but his main weapon is not his kicks, it is actually his blitzes. He stands very far away, and then all of a sudden he blitzes in with a right hand. And he has a lot of power in that right hand, and we saw this in the Kevin Holland fight, where he was teeing off on Holland. And if it was anyone else but Holland, they would have gone down. And naturally, he has to be very fast to pull that off, and I actually think he is faster than Ian Garry. But blitzes isn't his only weapon. He also has pretty nice kicks, and he is extremely unorthodox. I can't think of a guy who fights as wild as MVP except like maybe Jiri. The guy throws spinning elbows, flying knees, spinning kicks, counters, everything, you name it. One of his weaknesses though is the grappling. The guy's a striker, so he obviously isn't gonna want to grapple. And we saw a little bit of this in the Holland fight. MVP did a good job stuffing Holland's takedowns, but he did have problems with Holland clinching him up and stuff. Another natural weakness he has is the leg kicks. If you stand bladed, you're naturally gonna be more open for leg kicks. So, let's go over some of the win conditions for each fighter. Ian Garry's way to win in is by using a lot of leg kicks in this fight, in order to slow down MVP. The guy is very open for leg kicks, and he is also a fighter who relies a lot on movement, so if Garry takes away that movement, he has removed a big part of MVP's game. Ian Garry also has to make this a dirty fight, and I know that he isn't that type of fighter, but the only times where MVP were struggling against Holland was in the clinch, because if you clinch him up, all of a sudden you have taken away MVP's speed and movement, which again is a very big part of his game. Now, MVP's way to win is by staying on the outside and try to blitz in and try to land that right hand. Ian Garry is extremely open for shots in certain situations. Chin up in the air, hands goes back to his chest whenever he throws punches. MVP has a lot of power in that right hand, and if it catches Ian Garry, he's definitely knocking him out. MVP is also gonna want to land counters on Garry, since he's so open for them in so many situations. Now that all of that is said, I'm gonna go with MVP in this fight. I think MVP is gonna land a lot of those right hands on Ian Garry, because I just think Ian Garry is so open in the boxing department. I also think MVP is a lot faster than what Ian Garry is, and Ian Garry is not gonna make this a dirty fight. He is not that kind of fighter. He's simply gonna stand and strike with MVP instead of clinching him up. And MVP also has a pretty big reach advantage, 5 inches I think, which by the way is huge, guys. And we've seen how Ian Garry does struggle against guys who are the same height or taller than him, since Ian Garry has such a short reach for his height. MVP by knockout. Anyways, check out my Jiri vs Pereira 2 prediction on my channel. But that's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you disagree or agree with my prediction. And don't forget to send this to someone who thinks Ian Garry is gonna win. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.